President Trump in his third address to the nation tonight, just short of about an hour and a half. As we watch the interaction here, it comes in the middle of a huge week for the president as he hits his highest approval ratings in Gallup today.
Let me just interrupt. Did you just see House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripped up the speech right behind the president as he's still there?
I missed that moment as he was. Oh, wow. That's something. That is something. And they had an interesting moment like that on the way in, which I was just about to mention as well. He's on the eve of his likely acquittal in the Senate tomorrow. But the speech, as I was just going to say, began with a bit of an awkward moment. The speaker extended her hand after the transfer of the speech, and then he appeared to turn away. At any rate, she sat stone-faced, really, throughout most of the speech.
We're hearing this morning from the man who pulled the coronavirus prank on that WestJet flight from Toronto to Jamaica. Everyone talking about that story this week, how the plan was forced to turn around and more than 200 people have to put off the start of their vacations after the man stood up and announced mid-flight he'd just come back from China and he wasn't feeling well.
This video, posted on a Toronto social media site, shows James Potok being escorted off a plane while being jeered by passengers.
Oh, we got you on camera too.
You're a clown, man.
Can I have your attention?
It's the aftermath, what Potok says was supposed to be a joke.
I stood up, I said, I just returned from a flight from Hunan province. I might have said, this is the capital for coronavirus. And then I said, I don't feel too well.
What made you want to do that?
Well, it was really just to create a viral video.
By now, everyone has heard of President Trump's Palestinian-Israeli peace plan. In fact, President Trump even called it the deal of the century and promised that it would resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's high-profile meeting in Washington last month, it looked to some as a sideshow to the two allied leaders' serious legal problems. So don't take just my word for it. According to a poll by the Israeli Democracy Institute, which is a nonpartisan think tank, 68% of Arab Israelis and almost half of Jewish Israelis regard the timing of the publication of the deal of the century as a U.S. external interference into Israel's election process.
For this Syrian girl, it is a terrifying journey. She is one of the many displaced people trying to get out of Idlib province in northern Syria. The exodus is one of the largest since the start of the Syrian conflict in 2011. A 2-month Russian-backed Syrian government offensive against rebel fighters is continuing, and Turkey on Monday deployed troops to prevent Syrian forces gaining further ground. Exchanges of fire between Syria and Turkey were the worst since Ankara sent troops to Syria in 2016. The UN says they represent an extremely worrying escalation of the current phase of the conflict, with civilians caught in the middle.
There are no safe place in Idlib. Bombs fall everywhere and anywhere. Even those fleeing the frontline areas are not safe.
The head of the Iranian Space Agency says the country is preparing to launch its newly developed scientific observation satellite in the coming days. Tehran is not afraid of its previous failures and is going to launch the Zafar satellite before Friday. That's according to Iran's Minister of Information and Communication Technologies.
We're not afraid of failure, and we will not lose hope. With your prayers and trust in God, the Zafar satellite will be heading to orbit by the end of this week.
According to Iranian officials, the satellite's primary mission will be collecting data to study natural disasters and develop the country's agriculture. Iran has failed in the past to get a number of satellites into orbit. Those attempts were condemned by a number of Western countries, which believed they did not comply with the 2015 UN Security Council resolution.
Opposition candidate Carlos Ngualem is running for mayor in a particular district of Cameroon's economic capital Douala, the 5th district.
Our campaign slogan, it's time for action. Action in opposition to talks, because in Cameroon, politicians, all we do is talk a lot, but do little.
Ngualem has some convincing to do. The 5th district is home to many people displaced from the fighting in Cameroon's mainly English-speaking Anglophone regions. They've lost trust in a political system they feel excluded from. Most of Cameroon is French-speaking, so in the 5th district, they shout power. Something they don't have at home, they say. What started off as a protest against the government insisting on having French teachers in schools in the English-speaking regions has turned into an often violent separatist movement.
Two avalanches hit a remote area of Turkey, killing at least 23 people. The victims include military, police, and civilians who were rescuing victims from an earlier snowslide. Officials say some 30 people have been pulled out from snow up to 5 meters deep, but rescuers worry that extreme weather will complicate their work.
Into the dark and into the unknown. A new deep-sea expedition targets tall undersea mountains, or seamounts, thousands of meters below the surface of the rich Indian Ocean. To get to the so-called midnight zone, where light can't reach and the pressure is extreme, scientists will board one of the world's most advanced submarines, the aptly named Limiting Factor. Last summer, the submersible reached almost 11,000 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Among the discoveries, a particularly unsettling one.
We definitely see examples of, human beings. We see plastics, we see debris. Our plastic in particular is ubiquitous.
This time, as well as searching for marine life, the team also wants to study the effects of climate change on the deep sea environment.
And we're getting you shocking visuals of violence that's emerged from a college in the outskirts of Chennai. These visuals are from the SRM college in Chengalpet, where a gang is seen attacking students near a canteen. Initial reports claim that the gang, carrying machetes and allegedly a gun, entered the college premises to attack an MBA student. This incident occurred yesterday, but you see on your screens there the shocking visuals of these goons on a rampage in the college premises, seen threatening students with weapons as well. This has happened in a very prominent college, the SRM college, which is on the outskirts of Chennai.